Good Wednesday evening, everyone. I'm Scotty Powell here with the Carolinas Weather Group, and welcome to our next episode. We're kind of finishing up severe weather month. We started in April, and this is kind of the tail end of that. Is how to be a storm-ready community. We've talked about different tornado outbreaks. We've talked about different types of severe weather. So we're going to kind of put all that into tonight's show and what we need to do to be prepared for those severe weather events if they were to hit our house or our community or our workplace. And tonight, after our show, I think you're going to have a great understanding of what we need to do to be prepared. We have Mr. John Utech, who is a meteorologist for the city of Blackwell, Oklahoma. John's a very awesome guy. Joey and I was able to meet him out at the tornado conference in Oklahoma City a couple of months back, and we heard John's presentation. Was like, we have to have you on our show, so I'm glad we were able to arrange having him on tonight. I know he is in Oklahoma, where it seems to be a hotbed of severe weather right now, but everything's going around him, so we've got John on for the program, and unless something really pops up, and looking at radar, there's nothing too close, but you never know with those severe storms. So we're going to watch John, but a lot of our focus right now in the Carolinas, and maybe we can talk about that at the end of the show, a lot of interest off the Carolina coastline. What's going to happen out there in the Atlantic Basin later on this week and into the weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well tonight. Before we do that, I want to toss it around to our panelists and let them talk about what's been going on in their neck of the woods over the past week since we've last seen you. Let me remind you of this. We do have a question and answer session, so if you have a question tonight about what you need to do to be prepared, go ahead and send it that way. You can do it through our question and answer tab. Shoot it to us on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll make sure we'll get that to John. Also, this is a live broadcast, and you can watch the rerun anytime on YouTube, or you can download the podcast at your favorite app store. So, now that I got that out of the way, I'm going to send it over to Joey Mosteller, who's in Catawba County. Joey?
Thank you, Scotty. One quick other announcement you can watch tonight. I'll try to Periscope some of our show, but I don't have a stand for the phone, and my arms will probably start getting tired. But I'll hold the phone up and Periscope for a little while here shortly. As for the weather here, it's been absolutely nothing. We've just been I won't say enjoying, we've been intrigued by the weather in Oklahoma this evening, watching the storms out there. Other than that, there's really nothing going on in Joey's world except for my neighbor down the street cooked some hot sausages tonight that were really good, and they brought me one. That's about my only excitement. But I am glad tonight that we have the greatest voice in weather on our program with John Utech. So that's going to be awesome for us. But that's enough of me talking. I will pass it to Kit next.
All right, thank you, Joey. Well, I am Kit Cloninger, a junior meteorology major here at UNC Charlotte. Go 49ers. Our other panelists from UNCC are currently studying for finals, as it's right in the middle of finals week right now. Cody might be on in a little while, but as for me, I'm looking to go into broadcast meteorology. I'm also, like, if you see my Twitter down here, I am the lead forecaster for the Gaston County weather page. So if you live in Gaston County, or Cleveland County has their own, Lincoln has their own. So any family members who are watching this, go follow me on Twitter there, and I'll pop it over to Mr. Future.
Thank you, Kit. Austin Taylor, they call me the Future. Nothing really going on. It's been sunny, well, mostly sunny. It was 82 degrees today, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Felt really nice. Had our first thunderstorm last Thursday, so that was really exciting, but nothing really good around here, just watching what's happening out in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Austin talking about his first thunderstorm. That's something we've not had much here in the Carolinas, so we're kind of jealous and envious of all the action that takes place out in Oklahoma, but we don't want the tornadoes or anything like that. So a little bit of thunder or lightning, that excites us enough. Also, I'll say, if you tuned in, Ricky Matthews is not on tonight. As you guys know, as Kit was talking about, it is finals week, and between finals and getting his apartment set up in Bristol, Tennessee, he's really busy, so he's not going to be able to join us tonight as well. So I think we've got all that covered. I'm going to introduce Mr. John Utech. Like I said before, he is the meteorologist for the city of Blackwell, Oklahoma. Really cool program that he's got on in his city and his county, as well as he's a very big proponent of being a storm-ready communities, trying to get other communities in the Midwest and all around the country to become storm ready and get everyone ready in case severe weather does hit. So, John, thank you so much for coming on tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so very, very much for inviting me. This is fantastic, man. As you very well knew at the Tornado Summit, whenever I do a presentation, it's not the regular type of presentation that you may see from meteorologists talking about the federal government program. I really get excited about StormReady. I get excited about any time that I get to be in front of a large number of people. The more people, the more I have fun. So it was great, but it was great to see you guys there and the work that you do in Carolina. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, we're excited to be there, and we're looking forward to being back in February, and hopefully we can get together after the conference and maybe come up there and see what you guys do up in Blackwell, Oklahoma.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. One of the things that I do want to pass along, a lot of emergency managers, you'll hear about emergency operations centers, emergency managers, and in a lot of parts across the United States, the emergency manager handles all of the severe weather. He also handles all of the federal forms, also has to go to seminars for emergency management, hazardous disposal, blah, 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 blah. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse over the years, where you take a lot of small towns, let's say the size of Blackwell, which has a population of around 8,000. This emergency manager is usually wearing several hats. He could be city manager, he could be police chief, the fire chief, code enforcement, dog catcher. I mean, you know, they carry so many hats, and a lot of times they don't get paid anywhere near the amount of money that they should get paid. Well, the city of Blackwell had the same situation. We had a code enforcement officer who was also a floodplain manager, an emergency manager, and the problem that they came across, and a lot of cities do this, instead of paying them overtime, they give them comp time. That means, okay, you work 24 hours overtime, we're going to give you 24 hours off work, don't set foot in the office. Well, when they do that, then your code enforcement lacks because you've got the code enforcement officer gone for 24 hours, the floodplain manager, and you can see how it can go. So what we had done in the city of Blackwell, we took weather completely out of emergency management. The emergency manager is no longer responsible for anything dealing with weather. Emergency managers basically deal with after an event. Search and rescue, search and recovery, getting the federal forms filled out to get money back from FEMA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a lot of man hours in its own special way. So we created, the city Blackwell created a special department called the Severe Weather Operations Department. And what we do is anything dealing with weather, we handle that. Whether that be outreach or going to talk to different civic groups, coordinating different city departments on what we need them to be aware of before a weather event impacts the city of Blackwell. We do a lot of that. We also handle the Facebook, the Twitter. We also have one of the greatest tools in the city of Blackwell that we use, and that's the Nixle. Nixle, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a free text messaging service that residents of Blackwell can subscribe to for free if they've got a text package. And we're able to send out a lot of data that way directly to the residents in their phones. And one thing about doing this, and this is something that we've done for the last 5 or 6 years, and we've gotten a big kick out of, I think it was 2 years ago, I was at the Tornado Summit, and they said, we've got an idea. What we're going to do is when you send out a message, make sure that you put on that message, tell your friends and family. Well, we've been doing that for about 8 years, 6 years, and I was just about ready to fall over in the back. I'm going, good, you're catching on to this. That's awesome. You know, so, but that is one thing that we do, and we found that that had a tremendous impact. Another thing that we do that I suggest, whether an emergency manager or a storm spotter or anybody else, if you have a chance to read National Weather Service assessments like say for Joplin or Oklahoma City or Moore or Shawnee, anything like that, definitely read those, because there's a lot of things in there that you can take for your own city to be able to warn your residents, or at least inform them way ahead of time. And we do all of that. And matter of fact, what we just did with one of our storm spotters had an incredible idea. She went ahead and got herself one of these great big CB radios from a truck stop. But Blackwell is right next to Interstate 35. We are right next to Interstate 35. So her idea was to go ahead and broadcast severe weather information on behalf of the Severe Weather Operations Department to the truckers, and especially the truckers driving up and down the interstate in our area, because we have had a lot of large rigs be blown over by high winds. And if she's able to get that information out there, the odds of that occurring, we are hoping, will greatly decrease. So that is yet something else that we are doing. But we really would have never gone to all of this and taking the initiative to do all of these things if it wasn't ready. It wasn't for the StormReady program.
That's really interesting, John, that you're talking about the interstate. That's a very unique thing. I've never thought of that. That's a great way to relay the information to those who are traveling in the area. Maybe they don't know the local radio stations or anything to listen to, but they can tune in via the CB radio and get the information.
Channel 19. Yeah, Channel 19, which she broadcasts on. She has a map that lists all the exits and the mile marker by the exits and what cities they go to. And of course, as you very well know, a lot of times on the National Weather Service warning products, they'll list out, if it's approaching an interstate, will impact the area between mile marker 231 and 225 or something like that. And she's able to use that information and transmit that information to anybody that's listening on the interstate. And our fire department, it is so neat to work in a city like Blackwell. Our fire department supports us 100%. Due to the fact that if we can prevent a truck being blown over, and this is just one instance, prevent a truck being blown over, that is one set of crew that they do not have to send out to an incident. In case someone's having a heart attack here, in Blackwell, they can respond to that instead of having to go out to the interstate. And when you get into the interstate, you're looking at traffic, as you very well know. Traffic can be mind-boggling, and if you put severe weather, people lose their mind and will drive anywhere and everywhere to get away from hail, So it's really been supportive, and our storm spotters just finished a class with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol of how to correctly, by federal standards and state standards, shut down traffic on the interstate. Wow. And so we have a very, very active storm spotter group under the guise of SWOD, and we cooperate with the police department. A lot of times we've been asked to go on runs with the police department during severe weather to help block off traffic.
Well, before we talk about the StormReady community, let's talk a little bit more about what you guys do there in Blackwell. You mentioned the spotters. How do you come about finding these spotters in your community?
Usually people who are spotters are just like you guys. They're very passionate about the weather, and everybody has a certain amount of, I want to help my fellow man inside of them. So in order for them to be able to do that, it's a 2-year training program that we have in Blackwell. And they're usually contacting us. It's a 2-year training program, and we do run a background check on our storm spotters. Anybody who has a DUI is not eligible. So we're pretty much, liberal on some other things, because I did some stuff as a child that, it's been 7 years. And so there's some stuff I did that was ornery, that was considered on the gray area by some. And so I just, I try and be fair, but we cannot have any DUIs on our group, and that has turned a tremendous amount of them away. Sad, but it does do. And also a 2-year training program, we find out how many people really, really do want to become storm spotters. And because storm spotter is just, it's just not on the weekends only, or, well, whenever you get a chance. Usually we want the people who are very passionate about weather, and we do have those. And it has proven to be more successful than we had ever hoped for.
I was getting ready to say, how many first is in your spotter group, and second of all, like today, you guys are under a risk of severe weather. What was your protocol today? What was your message out to your spotters about today, or any severe or active weather day?
Basically, all the storm spotters have been checking in throughout the day, and since Blackwell is on the western edge of Kay County, a lot of folks in the eastern side of Kay County are very, very attentive to what Blackwell does, especially with our publicity and our reputation across the nation. They do pay attention to what we say and what we are thinking. So the storm spotters, believe it or not, I very rarely ever need to call them out. A lot of times, there were 4 storm spotters in our city that were already out there watching those storms west of us and moving through Grant County. And I've been texting them a little bit before the show. So, yeah, they're very aware. A lot of them self-deploy. A lot of them will deploy early to get the best seat. But all of our storm spotters also have weather stations on top of their vehicles. The reason for that is mostly if we get high winds, we want to be able to have a measured wind speed to be able to turn into the National Weather Service in Norman. And so we also, matter of fact, all of our storm spotters, and we've got approximately, as far as registered Blackwell storm spotters for a town of 8,000, I think we've got 10 to 12. That does not include all the ham radio operators that will come in and volunteer their services. There's been times we've had, in a small town of 8,000, we'll wind up with maybe 20 to 25 storm spotters all watching out for the city of Blackwell. So it's very flattering, but they know that whenever they get over this area, there's someone here, there's someone paying attention to them. We take their reports. We know most of them, of course, seriously. And so we take a lot of their reports drop dead zone. And they have, like I said, weather stations. When they call in a 58-mile-per-hour wind gust, we're able to go ahead and send that to Norman and say, this is measured, and give the location of the measured. There's a lot of things that we are very, very, very blessed with our storm spotters in Blackwell, Oklahoma.
That's a pretty awesome thing. I know Joey just got a question from one of our followers.
Actually, no, it was one of my own questions.
Sorry.
What a follower question this time. My question is, the National Weather Service, they train a storm spotter. You can actually go and do their basic and advanced class in one day. Your storm spotter training is 2 years.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Okay. No, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that, because that'll give me a great opportunity to address that. Yes, you're absolutely right. You can go to YouTube and see the training, but that is nothing like being out there when you see the lightning striking close to you. You see the winds blowing and you've never experienced that before. You can take a 30, 40-mile-an-hour wind speed on a clear day and go, yeah, it's pretty windy. Take that same wind speed at night with lightning, and there's a severe thunderstorm out there somewhere, suddenly that's an 80-mile-an-hour wind. So we make our trainees go through 2 years. The almost 3/4 of that is with one of our trained storm spotters. And then the final part of it is before we even let them out on their own, about the last quarter of that 2 years, they are out there with the storm spotter, but they are doing it on their own. They are making the calls. They're making the judgments. You also have to keep in mind the reason that we do make it 2 years is due to the fact that I've got an entire city resting on this one storm spotter's judgment call. If he does not know the difference between a scud cloud and a rotating funnel or wall cloud, anything such as that, he's going to be doing nothing but causing me problems. So they have to go through tests, and usually our training, like say one of our brand new storm spotters, Ken Taylor, went through 2 years worth of training. He watched all of the online training. We didn't just go to the Norman training, even though that's in our forecast here. We go north. We go into a different county watch area and attend their storm spotter training classes and their advanced storm spotter training classes. And after all of that, they're out in the field, and we're watching them all the time, making sure that they are making good judgment calls, especially at night. I've seen a lot of silo NATOs out in this area, in the agricultural area. I've seen a lot of telephone pole NATOs. I've seen tree NATOs, especially in the spring. If that tree is on a hill and leaves, and as you guys very well know, with the line of thunderstorms coming in, a lot of time there's a lot of lightning below the cloud base, but above the cloud base you don't see hardly anything. And trees can, if they're in the right position, they can look like, oh my God, this is a stovepipe and it's coming right at us, So yeah, they do go through a tremendous amount of training, because we don't want any false alarms, because no matter what, it's still my responsibility, and I will accept responsibility for any missed calls.
That's some great info, John. That's something that I believe, if a lot of the weather enthusiasts, if they would take the time in the training, I don't think we would have as many headaches in the weather world, because you get some Joe Blow who thinks they know and they don't really have the experience, and then their stuff gets shared by just the luck, and then you have all this confusing information. So that's great. That's great to have training.
And the guys that I really, my heart goes out to are like the Dr. John Davies, the Roger Hills. These guys are pros. They know what they're doing. They've done it for years. At one time, storm chasing was very good money, very good money. But now, Billy Bob Roy, who is out in the back of his field, he sees this and look, I got this. I think I got it on there, by God, and he doesn't want any money. He wants to send it to the TV station. Well, you mention my name? Yeah, sure. And they'll mention his name once. He gets fame. He gets to run around going, I was on Weather Channel, and that's all he wants. TV stations save crap load of monies with Billy Bob Roy's. Sure, the video may go, but there's stabilization software for video that can take care of that. So yeah, the days of I think, my personal opinion, the days of the storm chasers that used to make really good money, I think unfortunately they are gone. What is left, also unfortunately, are a bunch of amateurs that they really have not studied storm structure. They're going out there for video to get their name on a TV or anything. Sometimes that's what they need to make their life better. But when you take your professional storm chasers, they work their butt off to be in the right place at the right time. And a lot of times, these professional storm chasers, they don't need a lot of gadgets, because they're smart enough and they know meteorology well enough that they know where they need to be to get a good shot if they so desire. You take Dr. John Davies, he's out there so he can really study a storm and derive all kinds of data from that. If he happens to take a shot, make some money, wonderful. If he doesn't, he's still gotten a tremendous amount of data that he can use when he does talks. So yeah, I remember going to ChaserCon out in Denver. I think you've gone a time or two, haven't you?
We had a group that went 2 years ago. myself and Joey wasn't there, but two guys from our organization did go to that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, ChaserCon. I remember the days when the major TV networks were there, passing out business cards. You know, if you, I mean, and there used to be walls of computers and video equipment just for taking pictures. There was someone there, I think, from the Washington Post or some big newspaper out of the East that were saying, if you take this picture and you have the color red in it, we'll probably buy that because it's much more sellable on the front page. Well, and now it's turned mostly into education. Dr. Greg Forbes is out there many times. Dr. John Davies gives classes, and now it's more educational than it really is anything else. And so that's been fascinating for me to watch over the years, is how a lot of these pros are not so much trying to make money, but now they're trying to learn the science, and that's great. That is great. But, you know, the amateurs, like you were talking about, they actually can cause, not intentionally, but can cause more of a road hazard than anything else.
That's right.
Cell phone. Yeah, I was just gonna say the cell phone.
One time, please. Yeah.
Cell phone Doppler radar made everybody a chaser.
Oh yeah. And it's fun to watch because I've had some students come up to me, not knowing who I am. They'll come up to me, that tornado is going to be right there. Oh, I know it because this and this and this, and I'm sitting there. I'm going, well, that's really good information. Thank you, gentlemen. That's I truly appreciate it. And then they take off. Turns out to be a rain event, you know. But you know, I have to look at it like their heart was in the right place. They were actually trying to warn me. And if you look at it that direction, you can appreciate what they're actually trying to do. And that's how I look at it.
Well, let's kind of shift gears a little bit and let's talk about being a StormReady community. And what is, John, first of all, what got you all excited about promoting this program? And just share with us your passion and what really being a StormReady community is all about.
Oh, man, how much time do we have left? Okay.
Like I told you in our email, if we go a little bit over the top of the hour, that's perfectly fine, as long as it's all right with you. Yeah.
StormReady. The reason I really liked StormReady when we started to do it here in Blackwell is because, to be truthful, excuse me, I thought the city of Blackwell was way past StormReady. We had plenty of storm spotters. We had 14 sirens. We had 14 tornado sirens. So I figured, you know, this is great communication to the general public. And a lot of people would monitor our two-way radio traffic with the storm spotters. And it had been brought to my attention a couple times, you know, maybe we need to try to be storm-ready. And I was like, no. And when I started looking at it, the reason that I really like StormReady is, even though I'm very self-centered and egotistical, it proved me to be an idiot. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. It proved me wrong in so many areas. When you get into StormReady, and I before we actually applied, I went ahead and went online to stormready.org and looked at some of the application notes and qualifications. We were so far behind, I just could not believe it. And that's when it was very apparent to me that I was drop dead zone wrong in my assessment of how ready we were. We were nowhere close. So with the help of our WCM down in Norman, that would be Rick Smith, who is a fantastic guy, and he was just more help than I can even relay over the program. He really guided us and helped us, and you've got to have several layers of communication, not only with the National Weather Service, but also with the general public. At one time, and we'll use this for an example, we had telephone numbers posted in here of the National Weather Service forecast office. And I was like, well, that's all we need. Well, not really. There's a thing called NWS chat, which is far better than a telephone number. We were blessed here in the city of Blackwell with some incredible ham radio operators that are very intelligent. And so we went ahead and I contacted them, and they found ways to contact the National Weather Service through ham radio. And all of a sudden we found out that, wow, there's a lot of ways to contact the weather office if we need to. NWS Chat will be our #1, just so you know. That was one of the greatest things ever created. So we use NWS Chat very much as far as communicating to them. And here's also what's good. If you're in a community that, you know, well, the TV stations really don't pay attention to us or something like that, NWS Chat, what you have to understand, it's just not the Severe Weather Operations Department personnel and the National Weather Service. The TV and radio stations monitor that too. And if you start punching in there, hey, you know, we've got a wall cloud west of Blackwell moving toward us, we're sounding the sirens, da-da-da-da, the TV stations will pick that up. So will the radio stations, and of course the National Weather Service will too. And it's a tremendous amount of one shot of NWS Chat, and that will get you TV stations, radio stations, National Weather Service to be able to sound an alarm on the weather radio if need be, or sound things out on iPods, which goes through the telephone, the wireless emergency alert. I mean, there's so many things that go on just from one text on NWS Chat. I had no idea of it, had not a clue, until I got into the StormReady program. And that was just one item. That's just connecting with the National Weather Service. Then we start talking about connecting with the general public, which is, this is why we do what we do, to inform and warn the general public, and we're able to do that. We still have our storm sirens, and we're very proud of, by the way. And we still have people listening on the scanner to us. But we use Nixle, and we now use Facebook. We use Twitter. We are very fortunate, and I know a lot of people heard me talk about Nixle. The reason I love Nixle so much is that at the bottom of the text screen, I can pick or toggle Twitter or toggle Facebook or both. So whatever I put out on a Nixle automatically goes to the Twitter accounts, automatically appears on Facebook. So we're sending data out all over. And yes, at the end of our Facebook and at the end of our Nixle messages, we always put contact friends and family if it's something that is going to be pretty dire. So that's one of the ways of contacting, you know, use one thing, contact all the general public that we possibly can. Plus on top of that, I still do a lot of broadcasting on a radio station, a news talk radio station out of the nearby Ponca City. And we're able to get information out that way also. So, yeah, I mean, it is just so much fun. And that is just contacting the general public and contacting the National Weather Service. All those things trickle down from those two activities. Now, you had a question?
Yeah, I know Kit has one, and then I have one too. So, Kit, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so you were talking about the NWS Chat. Is that just exclusively for the people like the National Weather Service, the spotters, or is that something that the public can view in live time so that if they don't have any access to another resource?
Now, as far as I am aware of, the TV stations, because they do deal with public safety, the radio stations, they deal with public safety. They're considered media. National Weather Service personnel and the storm spotters really, as far as I'm aware of, don't have much access to it, but the EOC director, which Brian Merritt here in Blackwell is in charge of the Emergency Operations Center. Those really are the only people that I am aware of that have access to NWS Chat. And National Weather Service purposely, I believe, limits it to those people that can directly have an impact on the public safety. Yeah, I think you have to be approved and invited into NWS Chat. And when I did it, I went through Rick Smith, who's the WCM at Norman.
Yeah, Kit, I know with my access that we have, it's normally here in the GSP area, it is TV, radio, and EMs, and some academia as well. Some professors from UNCC and UNCA have access to that, but it's kind of honestly almost like a secret group. You're able to communicate with one another because I feel like if we put public access into that, it could go into a whole totally different thing than what it was intended for.
Right, but Kip, I think also your question about the NWS and people having access to be able to see what's going on, just turn on the TV and watch the TV stations, or turn on the radio and listen to the radio stations, or get a weather radio, one of the three. Or become a storm spotter, a trained storm spotter by the National Weather Service, and learn it yourself.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Yeah, and John, I have one for you guys. When you issue those text alerts, do you just copy and paste like a tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning? How detailed do you guys get in those text alerts that you send out to your followers?
For the Nixle, we text, like say, a tornado warning, and we talk about the communities that's going to be impacting. You know, a tornado warning for K County affecting Blackwell, take shelter, contact friends and family, and that's what we do, and that's about all that we do. So and we make it real short and sweet and shoot it out.
I was interested. We use that as well, the Nixle program, and I always like to get everybody's take on how they effectively communicate, because I think you know this and everyone else in the weather enterprise, the shorter you can make it, people can read it and then react on it. It's not a long drawn out process.
Yeah, and we just don't send it out once. A lot of times I know that we had a wall cloud moving toward the city of Blackwell. It is moving very slow, but we sent out a Nixle about 15 minutes before it was going to cross the K County line. As it got within about 5 minutes of Blackwell, we sounded the sirens and sent out another Nixle. We do not sound an all clear siren. We sounded the sirens 2 times, and the reason that we did that wasn't so much because it was the right thing to do. We learned from one of those National Weather Service assessments from Joplin that people really didn't pay attention until they heard the sirens for the second time. And a lot of people whose homes were damaged, but they weren't heard, like I had a great opportunity to talk to them. And they had told me, well, we just saw the storm siren until I heard it that second time. And I thought that was unusual, so I went ahead and took shelter. Well, their trailer rolled over their storm shelter, so they were pleased that they went ahead and took shelter.
That's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. That second time of hearing the siren really got their attention. That's right. That's a testament of just getting that information out several times.
Oh, and that's what we do. We, as I had said during the Tornado Summit, part of the StormReady is being able to do public outreach or presentations. Some people call it outreach, something mingling with the public, blah, blah, blah. With my background in broadcasting, to me, that was marketing. That was promotion and marketing. And man, Katie barred the door because I'm going to have fun with this. And I did. We are a shameless self-promoter of the Severe Weather Operations Department. If there is an opportunity, matter of fact, in our area, churches are now starting to ask us to come and do severe weather presentations for their church. And matter of fact, one of our senior personnel is doing one next Tuesday, I believe. We appear at the fair. And where a lot of insurance companies don't go, we do go to the fair, constantly promoting StormReady, promoting storm safety, storm preparedness, weather radios. We're promoting Nixle. We're promoting Facebook. We're promoting anything that we touch. We promote it. Our newspaper here, the Blackwell Journal-Tribune, has to be one of our best friends. Anything that we are doing, they put it in. If there's something that we're wanting to promote, they are there to help. I mean, it's just, if you can imagine anybody in your audience that works for a city government, if you can imagine your city manager, your mayor, all of your commissioners, the police chief, the fire chief, the director of public works, all of us working as a team, that's what it is like here in Blackwell. It is, we are just drop dead zone fortunate, as they like, to have these people working together. There is no animosity, no jealousy here. We are all here to do something else. We have our power department come in and turn our generator on because it's too big for me to try and do, and I'm sure I'd die if I try to turn that thing on. So, and they said, John, don't touch it. So I don't touch it. We have our fire department that has told me, say, listen, during severe weather, if you think it's going to be bad and we're going to have a lot of wind, tell us when you want to go ahead and have our fire department split. We'll have one group in town, another group out of town. That way, whatever damage there is, but this is our fire department. We can come in from the outside of the city or approach it from the inside of the city. That's how our fire department and us cooperate. Our police department train our SWOD group in traffic control. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on about how the StormReady program has really changed emergency services and first responder work here in the city of Blackwell. So, yeah, we're very, very hard in promoting. If there is an opportunity that I have to go somewhere and do a presentation to promote StormReady and promote public safety, I'm there. I'm there. And to get cooperation from the National Weather Service is easy, because Rick Smith and the entire group at the Norman Forecast Office, their basic statement is, tell us what you need. And we do, and they are there. At the Tornado Summit, you were talking about StormReady. That is probably one of the greatest honors I've ever had in my life, to be able to share a presentation with one of the founders of StormReady, meteorologist Steve Piltz, who is the MIC, meteorologist in charge of the Tulsa Forecast Office. They have also been kind enough, because of our StormReady certification here in Blackwell, we are being allowed to beta test a lot of different software, which I'm very happy about. But we're very, very fortunate and very, very tight to our chest about the software that we are beta testing for different companies and the federal government. So, yeah, it's to say that it's moderately pleasing to be here is a gross understatement.
That's pretty awesome when the National Weather Service asks you to test out some of the newest equipment. That's got to be an honor there.
It's software. It's software. But it's great. I mean, because all of our people here, including our ham radio operators, the ODAR Ham Radio Club in Blackwell, brilliant people. And what a pleasure to work with them. It's just fantastic. I mean, there are times I sit back and watch everything just go so smooth, and you go, how in the name of all things holy did I get into a situation like this where everything is like silk? Everything works so smoothly, and everybody loves working with each other and wants to do things for the other department. So, yeah, it's awesome. StormReady did all of this and so much more.
That's great to have the cooperation. I know in some of our municipalities, that cooperation, there's still a competitive edge of who's wanting to get the information out the first in place like that. So anytime you can work as a group and a team, that always makes it much easier. One question I was going to ask you, John, you're talking about doing these presentations to the public. When you go out there, what do you tell the people? I mean, for those who are watching us tonight, most of us in the Carolinas, the Virginias, Georgia, and then out in Oklahoma, what do you stress to the people that you're presenting to? What are those key facts that we need to know how to be storm ready and how to be prepared when severe weather strikes?
No, that's a great question. A lot of times what we really try and promote is have at least 3 ways of getting weather information. And I'll go right back to National Weather Service assessments. Joplin, we found that people were aware of the storm sirens going off. They were aware of the TV stations doing stuff, but they really paid attention to that text that they were getting from their mom or dad or son or daughter on their cell phones, or any other text that they were getting. So what we had seen, and this is very, very true in a lot of the sociological studies that we have seen over the last 2, 3, 4 years, is that people will get 3 sources, and they'll usually act on that 3rd source. And a lot of people will say, well, John, why is that? I mean, that's kind of silly. If you hear a storm siren, that means take cover. Not really. And you got to remember, when you and I were going to school and the rest of us, 2 + 2 = 4. Prove it. Okay, well, 4 - 2 = 2. Okay, you know, ever since grade school, all through college, we're asked to prove our answer. In journalism school, I'm sure that you're aware of this. In journalism school, have 3 sources. Mm-hmm. You know, and well, I don't know whether that's really true anymore in network news. As far as journalism school, they want you to have 3 solid sources. So the general public does that. And you also have to remember that nowadays the general public is skeptical about anything and everything. So yeah, I definitely encourage that first. In our area, first thing I encourage is Nixle. Get signed up to Nixle. If you can't get signed up to Nixle, like you've got a track phone or something like that, find out who you know that has Nixle, and make sure that they call you if there is a message sent out from the Severe Weather Operations Department through Nixle. Another thing, watch your TV. It has been proven by statistics to watch the TV. Another thing that a lot of people do not realize, but I also push, especially being a former radio personality, is that radio. Make sure you use radio, because if the power goes out, you lose your TV, you lose your computer. In your driveway is the world's largest transistor radio. Your car, your pickup. Make sure you find a station that you're comfortable with, that you feel does a really good job about broadcasting severe weather information. And of course, weather radio. Weather radios, I know the National Weather Service really promotes weather radios, and if you live along the Gulf Coast or in any of the southern states, you would be an idiot for not having a weather radio to wake you up in the middle of the night. Through a lot of the surveys that I have seen, and if anybody reads the service assessments from the National Weather Service, you're going to find that weather radio is almost at the bottom of the barrel as far as people getting information. However, people who get weather radio, and I've done my own survey of this whenever I'm talking, I ask people, how many people here have weather radios? Oh, you'd be amazed how many people raise their hand. The next question is, how many of you are actually using it? And there may be 1 or 2. And the sad thing of it is it's not the weather radio manufacturer's fault. From what I've been able to see, the codes have been there to separate counties for decades, but the government never did that. As unfortunate as that is, there was always something else more important that the government had for that money from NOAA than to make weather radio safe and actually useful. I still believe in weather radios. I still have 4 of them at my house that are on all the time, which I'm surprised I'm still married. Well, when I go home. And so you see all of this stuff, but I'm also constantly using tricks of the trade like I did at the Tornado Summit. I'm not a boring speaker. I try not to be. And a lot of times I'll show people the difference between a tornado and a funnel. And it seems to be fairly effective. And so I do that. But I talk to people the way to keep them awake, to try and, hey, this is actually not boring. It's actually kind of funny, and I've got stories for you. Have you heard about this one? What's also so funny is when I go out of the state of Oklahoma and do presentations. When I went up into, as you can tell, sometimes I may have an accent, sometimes I may not. But that comes from all of the years of broadcasting and marrying my wife, who is a hillbilly. But that has nothing to do with it. But when I go up to Nebraska, I'd start out with the speech, because I wouldn't say very much, and I'd start out as, you may not all know this, but I'm not from these parts. People are going, oh my gosh, he's got one of those accents. Oh, this is funny. And then I tell them that I was in broadcasting, and then I'll go say, oh yeah, I was on the radio. I was real good on I sound good on the radio. And then I'd tell you, this is what it sounds like when I did a severe thunderstorm watch. It sounded like this. The National Weather Service has just issued a severe thunderstorm watch for northern Oklahoma, and talking no accent. And people go, So it was fun to do stuff, and I'd start stuff out like that. But yeah, it's fun to do presentations. It's fun to entertain. And if I can teach someone at the same time, that's even better. That's even better.
And John, that was one thing. We loved your stories, and maybe you can tell a few here in just a few minutes. We're closing in on the top of the hour, and we'll stay on as long as you want. But my question to you is, if you're out to sell the StormReady community to emergency managers or the public in general, what are the 3 or 4 things that you really hit on in every presentation of why everybody needs to live in a StormReady community and why you need to be ready? What are those 4 things or 3 things that just kind of seal the deal for this program?
Oh, well, number one, to be StormReady, certified or qualified or recognized as a StormReady community, you have to have so many ways to be able to contact the general public. You have to be out in the community. That's 1. You have to be out in the community promoting severe weather safety. That's 2. Your people have to be extremely well trained in a StormReady community. That's 3. You have to be able to understand the lingo of the National Weather Service no matter where you are. People think StormReady is all about tornadoes, but it is not. It's about any type of severe weather. And severe weather in Oklahoma means severe thunderstorm and tornado. Up in Oregon, it may mean high winds, blowing snow. It may mean blizzards, stuff such as that. So these are things that people need to be aware of in a StormReady community. When in a StormReady community, as like I had said at the very beginning of the program, I was very happy with it because the StormReady program proved that I was a blithering idiot as far as thinking that my city was prepared. It was nowhere close. Any emergency manager with his salt is going to go ahead and try and get signed up. If you cannot qualify to be StormReady community, that's fine. Do the best you can. The National Weather Service, and I have not met one single WCM who is not willing to work with the community to become StormReady because it benefits the National Weather Service. It's a win-win-win situation for the general public, the National Weather Service, the TV stations, the radio stations, internet, Facebook. You can't lose by becoming a StormReady community. And just because you are one, in 3 years, you've got to recertify again. We just finished recertifying again. And I'm looking forward to the next opportunity for that challenge to recertify again if the city keeps me here any longer after this show. So, yeah, StormReady. And if you're a storm spotter, learn more, learn the advanced, push your emergency manager to become StormReady. It's worth it. Even if you don't get recognized or certified, you'll see ways that you can become even better than you are now. And best thing that ever happened to our department, those two become StormReady.
Now, you're talking about being a StormReady community takes a lot of requirements. So how many communities around the nation actually meet all of these 4 major requirements?
Well, I think there's about, I want to say between 1,300 and 1,600, and it varies so much because of the recertification, you know. I'm going to say bottom line at around 1,300 StormReady communities. Now, there's over, I think, close to 21 or maybe even more that if you want to include tsunami-ready communities, that want to include campuses and businesses that are StormReady certified, and that is a different program, but it's still extremely important and follows a lot of the guidelines that the standard StormReady program has. And that's just like, say, around here. You can go to many different countries and they're also StormReady certified or tsunami-ready certified. It's a great program. Once you get into it and learn it, you're going, oh my gosh, why did we not try this before? So yeah, StormReady is definitely fantastic. It does bother me, if I can make a personal statement. I know we hear so much about weatherready.gov, and I look at weatherready.gov as, yeah, this is a really nice generic way to keep weather safety in front of the general public. But the guy down at the car wash, who is Billy Bob Roy and has his 6th grade education and maybe 5 teeth, he can be an ambassador for Weather Ready Nation. When it comes, I guarantee if there's a storm coming, he's running. Storm Ready communities, we are completely prepared. Our people are trained, prepared. We've already gone out and talked. If you are in a community that is not a StormReady community, and you need to find out why not. But weatherready.gov, and I've heard several controversial statements, weatherready.gov is not a bad program. The unfortunate thing for me is I don't think that they promote Weather Ready Nation or Weather Ready, StormReady, the way that they should, but that's just my opinion. I believe that they're probably doing the best that they can under budget constraints that they have, and WCMs are the ones who are in charge of StormReady programs in their county watch area, and they're already overworked. Now, that much I'll tell you right now. I have not come across a WCM that is not doing like 5 or 6 jobs at one time. So there's a tremendous amount of work hour stress for WCMs. So I would like to see the National Weather Service try and do something to really promote the StormReady program. I really do believe that it saves lives. Will it protect a city? It's this giant shield. Now,
So
information is power. Information is power. One of our mottos here in Blackwell for our Severe Weather Operations Department is to inform and warn. We inform our citizens every way that we can about possible severe weather, and then we warn them when it's going to impact the city.
So you're telling me that we can't build big walls around these cities to protect them from tornadoes? Like I've seen.
Yeah, that was tried in China.
I've seen.
It was a good wall, yes, but didn't do a darn thing.
I've seen these articles coming out where they're thinking about putting walls around Moore, Oklahoma to block tornadoes, and I'm just laughing.
Oh, you can prevent that from happening in any community. What I found here in Oklahoma is that if you tell the city that that wall is going to be around, that you're actually going to be using that for a prison, people will knock that thing down in a heartbeat. But they'll also turn around and say, well, we need more prisons, just not here. You know, so it's funny, but yeah, I saw that. I thought that was
Oh
I thought
man.
the idea was cute. I was entertained.
Oh
What other
goodness.
questions you got?
Well, John, another thing that I wanted to ask you is you talked about doing. You guys are really active on Facebook and Twitter. Has
Yes.
that really taken off in your
Yes.
area? And if so, is it more Facebook or Twitter or a little bit of both?
I see it, of course, on Facebook on a regular basis. If I don't have anything that really isn't going to be impacting or of major interest to what I call our viewers, I won't post it. We've had, of course, 2-3 year drought here in north central Oklahoma, so when we started getting a lot of rain, I did start posting some rain totals because that was a topic of conversation. A lot of people had not seen that much rain for years. So we wanted to go ahead and post that information for them. That's been extremely successful. So yeah, I am very, very choosy what we do put on Facebook to make sure that it's going to have some interest. And when it gets down to, like, say, this Saturday, SPC has a lot of severe weather forecasted for us. So I've already been posting about the possibility of severe weather on Saturday, and we just continue to do that. We want to make sure that the information is there for the general public. That's why we use Facebook. That's why we use Twitter. When it gets to the down and dirty, that's when we really start talking to our viewers and say, please share this with friends or family.
Here's a question, because we find this here in the Western Carolinas. Facebook is the biggest thing that people use, whereas in the metro areas like Charlotte, Greensboro, Columbia, South Carolina, Raleigh, Twitter's more of a big thing. So out in Oklahoma, Blackwell, do you see most of your followers on Twitter, or are they on Facebook, or how does that kind of reach out?
You know, it's kind of hard to tell from time to time because you get a lot of sharing and you get a lot of retweeting. We're going to get a lot of retweeting. You get a lot of retweeting. So, and I really don't pay that much attention to it, to be truthful with you, until we start hitting the thousands of numbers, and then I'll look at it and go, wow, that's pretty good. You know, what did I do here that was so successful? Because when it comes down to it, next time I want to make sure I use the same formula. And it has been awesome. I think social media is going to be one of the requirements for the next StormReady certification, which I'm glad. I'm very happy with that. A lot of people think that, well, you don't need to do anything because, you know, your telephone, you know, you get WEA, you know, wireless emergency alerts, but they don't issue severe thunderstorm warnings. They don't issue severe weather statements. They don't tell you that the potential for flash flooding, I mean, you don't get any of that. You get flash flood warning, presidential message, tornado warning, and depending upon where you are, tsunami warning. There's a lot of information that we pass on to our viewers and listeners and subscribers that we let them know about stuff before a warning is issued. And that's one of the reasons Facebook is so fantastic. And that's why we use Nixle. We can get that information out through Nixle. Bang, hit Twitter. Bang, hit Facebook. One Nixle, and we've already covered everything. So, yeah.
I know from our perspective of Burke Weather Incorporated, when Chris White and Steve met you a couple years back at the Tornado Conference, they came back and they said, listen, we heard this guy John talk, and we're getting Nixle. And about 2 days later, we got signed up, and Nixle has been a very great program for us. We were able to utilize that when a EF2 tornado came through the eastern part of our county. And when we were out there doing the storm damage surveys with the National Weather Service, numerous people came up to us and said, you know, if we didn't get that text message from you guys, we don't know where we have been right now. So it's a lifesaver.
It is. It is. I am a very, very hardcore, strong believer in Nixle. Nixle is one of our major power tools in contacting the general public. If we send our folks to shelter, we can also tell them that it's clear to get out of the shelter. We do that through Nixle. And it's a win-win-win situation no matter how you look at it.
It's a huge asset. Even here, what we do is we have a recreational box that you can click on, and if you're out at one of the local lakes or you're out hiking somewhere and there's a thunderstorm nearby, we send a message out through that so those boaters know they can get off the lake, or those hikers can find safe shelter out from that thunderstorm. So it really does a great job for getting severe weather information out.
Yeah, it really is. And like I say, if there's any tool that I have an opportunity to use to get the message out to my residents in my city, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. So, and Nixle is the best one that I've come across. So, but I do, let's see, what else? Was there anything else we needed to cover really quick?
And that's up to you. I think we got all the bases of what the purpose is of a StormReady community. We've talked about what we need to do, how to prepare for those events, and the tools. Anything else you want to add on that basis?
No. I think you just brought something up that I did want to bring up. Thank you. There are some storm spotters that are probably watching, and maybe some other people in first responders or emergency services, such and such. If you're curious about how we are doing things, our Facebook is Blackwell Storm Spotters. That's our Facebook. Yeah, and I would probably go there. That would give you a really good idea of what we do. All of the classes that the SWOD personnel take. All the ideas that we come up with, good, bad, doesn't matter. All the public outreach programs that we do, the talks that we do. Oh yeah. Our matter of fact, we've got industry here in town that have brought in a lot of contractors from outside of town, and that corporation had their contractors, and it took us 2 nights to do all the contractors going through severe weather terminology and what they need to do.
Wow.
Scotty?
Joey? Yeah, go ahead, Joey.
I was going to ask you, I think when we came back from the Tornado Summit, we looked it up. All of our counties but Burke County were storm ready, correct?
Yes, and Burke County just got their certification, so that was 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Awesome. So they finally turned off the Weather Channel and got storm ready. But anyway, John, most of our counties are storm ready, but if somebody who's a community leader whose county is or whose area is not storm ready, what's the first step to getting certified?
Okay, like say if their county is a storm ready county, but they want their city to be?
Whatever, yeah. If they want whatever their community to become storm ready, what's the first step?
First thing I do is talk to the county emergency manager or whoever is ramrodding the storm ready county. I would talk to them. A lot of times, from what I've experienced, these county emergency managers are tickled to death to have a city or a community within their county storm ready. So definitely do that. And now keep in mind, they don't have to. They don't have to. They can go ahead and contact the NWS county warning area meteorologist in charge or the warning coordination meteorologist to see what's done. But I'd also recommend to go ahead and go to stormready.org. That would be a really good place to get an idea of what your community will need to do. So that is probably what I would recommend first. Then go to the county EM, then go to the National Weather Service Forecast Office and talk to the WCM.
And another thing, we talked about the great benefits of being a storm ready community for, the individuals, the citizens of the county. What about businesses and things like that in the county? What benefits is being a storm ready community? Like if I'm the mayor of, say, the city I live in, the city of Newton, or one of the county city council members, my good buddy Robert Abernathy, who I hopefully is watching tonight, because I told him to watch to find out about this. The city of Newton, can we go out and say, listen, you need to bring your business here because we are a storm ready community, and that is a benefit to your business because
Now, because a lot of times what they to be bloody truthful about it, these businesses are making their decisions about where they're going to make money. StormReady does not give you a discount on insurance. It's not going to protect the city from a storm. That's all there is to it. However, it's also good for a business to know that they'll at least get some warning, because here's the good one. They'll get warning because if they do have business guests, customers, they can get their customers to a safe place away from plate glass windows, therefore preventing loss, preventing injury, therefore preventing the odds of being sued because you didn't do anything. So that's what the business person needs to know. And I have not come across a business here in town that we haven't worked with. We're tickled to death to work with them, train their employees. What is the difference between a watch and a warning? That's one of the first things. But yeah, anytime that you do have a chance, businesses, if you bring in attorneys and lawsuits and liability, and you'll get warned and informed way ahead of time, then sometimes they actually will look at it a little closer. Maybe not much, but it depends upon how you market it to the businesses.
Awesome. I knew there would be some sort of benefit there. Out in Oklahoma, when we were out there for the tornado summit, you told us lots of good stories. So right as we get ready to wrap up, because I know we're a little past 9 o'clock, you got to drop us a great story from somewhere on. I know you told us one story about ending up with women on each arm, and we made fun of Scotty for not being able to get one on each arm, but actually he did accomplish that later.
Was that with the Thunder cheerleaders?
Yes. I'm getting ready to put that on here. Hold on one second.
Well, what was so humorous about it, and a lot of my friends give me a hard time about it because the Thunder cheerleaders that's not me. A lot of the Thunder cheerleaders are very well educated. They're all working to their bachelor's or master degrees. But it was very interesting to talk to them, and I made several comments about, I think it was on the picture, that oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, during the presentation,
I'm gonna put my cursor. I'm gonna put my cursor down here. This is from John Utech. He says, "Makes me so proud. Well done." And this is my friend. This is me and my friend Zach.
Yeah, you also need to show the picture that derived you wanting to get those too. Now he probably won't show that, but no. The interesting story about that was when I'm giving the presentation down at the Tornado Summit, I'm talking about, sometimes you have to go out into public. Yes, you got to talk to the general public, and sometimes they don't understand it. And yes, it can be a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And in the background, the picture shows with me and the 4 Thunder cheerleaders as I'm saying, oh, it's a dirty job, but God bless me and the fine job I do. So it was a lot of fun. So he remembers that now.
Yes. When I told my friend Zach, I was like, we're going to take our pictures beside these cheerleaders because I got to show my friend John because he made this big thing in Oklahoma. I was like, so I got to show him that I had women on both sides of me as well. So.
Yeah. Those weren't paper cutouts, were they?
No, they were real, I promise.
They were, and so was the restraining order that they filed on Scotty shortly thereafter. That's a whole other story.
Those were the only paper cutouts he got.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I know that there is I don't know whether that individual will be watching, but I've got a very, very close friend up at the Kansas City area who may be watching, and I certainly wanted to acknowledge that individual for helping me out with a lot of private projects, and that person has done well, to say the least. But this is awesome being here with you guys. It really, really has. I've certainly been enjoying it. And is this in the middle of the screen supposed to start spinning, and I slowly but surely become hypnotized, or the Carolina logo.
It does that. Joey does that sometimes, throw our guest off. But John, no, we've really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure. Man, has the time flown by? It seems like we just started. But on a personal note, and I'll let Joey speak for herself, but it was such an honor to meet you out in Oklahoma City. I mean, you're just an all-around great guy, and I loved being able to conversate with you while we were out there. And hopefully when we get back out there, we're thinking about coming back in October for the NWA conference, and then back out there in February for the tornado conference. Maybe we could get together and come up there and see the severe weather operations out
Great.
that you guys do, and maybe we can grab dinner or something. So,
absolutely. I have no problem with you buying me dinner.
we will do that as long as you can provide the Thunder cheerleaders, okay?
We'll negotiate. I'll see if I can get some stand-up cutouts for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely good. Your presentation out there at the Tornado Summit was definitely great. I think I told you out there what I thought was really great was you reaffirmed a lot of the things that our corporation does. Not the Carolina Weather Group, our corporation with Burke Weather. What we do, you really reaffirmed a lot of the things that we're already doing for our public, and it made us feel good to know that we're all on the right track. Gave us some ideas about some new things and things like that. But I was going to say your presentation was definitely good. I think the one I went to right after yours, they taught us how to pick up debris in a bucket. I don't know. I literally sat there and I was like, did they just tell us to put this stuff in a bucket and then put it in a bigger pile? What? But anyway, whole nother subject there.
Well, I want to say thank you very, very much for inviting me. I certainly enjoyed it. It's an honor appearing with you guys, and it's just been a lot of fun. And as you guys very well know, I love having fun, and being with you guys this evening has been absolutely a blast. So thank you so very, very much.
It's been great, and hopefully we can do this. I know you dabble a lot in weather, so if there's any other topic you want to talk about that's something near and dear to your heart, just drop me an email. Let us know, and we'll make another show out of it.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words. You just never know. We'll see what goes on in the future, and we'll see what happens.
You did have a tough spot this week, having to follow Gary England last week. So.
When Pioneer Productions was here several years ago, we were all in the video that Pioneer Productions made called The Science of Tornadoes. And Gary England was the star meteorologist, as well as he should have been, for that video, along with it was Gary England, the Storm Prediction Center, the National Severe Storm Lab, and the Blackwell Storm Spotters.
Wow.
So we are quite well known all over the planet, and especially among storm spotter groups and StormReady. So we're always glad to be here to help people or answer questions.
I mean, you guys have a great program that I would encourage anybody who's wanting to do what you guys do out there to copy. I mean, you guys have the groundwork laid out, and you definitely work well as a team. And I follow you guys on Facebook and on Twitter, so your information is accurate and pertinent, and it gets out and it gets to the people it needs to get to.
Well, thank you so much. On behalf of all of us at Severe Weather Operations Department and the City of Blackwell, we thank you very much for that kind of word. We truly do.
Well, it's a great thing, and John, it was great having you on, and I hope the rest of the spring season is nice to you guys, and hopefully hope you don't have to worry about too much out there.
Thank you so very, very much. Really appreciate it, guys.
We appreciate it, and I'll let you, as we close out, do you want to promote your guys' Twitter page and your Facebook page one more time, so maybe some of our followers here? And
Facebook, that would be the Blackwell Storm Spotters, and you'll get the link for the Twitter on that, because we have our software designed to do so much automatically. To be truthful, I don't know our Twitter account, so I know our Facebook because we do so much on Facebook, and that's Blackwell Storm Spotters, and it's great. And I just want to say, thank you guys for what you do and the service you do for your community. Kind of the unsung heroes as far as weather goes for your group, and you guys have obviously proven your worth. And keep up the great work, guys.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And anytime you're out in Carolina, over in our area, you let us know, and we'll treat you out to some.
That'd be a long track tornado, yeah.
A very long track tornado, maybe the longest in the history. But
Maybe.
Hey, listen, you never know. You never know. But
Right.
I guarantee you, we can treat you to some good Carolina barbecue.
Done.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
See you later.
All right.
Thank you.
And guys, that was John Utech, a great show that we had, and I hope everyone learned a lot. And if you're listening to us in your community, if you don't know your community's a StormReady community, I'd be asking tomorrow to find out and get those steps started. It's a great program to be involved in. It really does save a lot of people's lives. We heard countless stories in Oklahoma City from Mr. Utech's presentation, and it's a great program.
And Sky, don't forget, he was mentioning the ham radio operators, and we have that show coming up. I want to throw a mention in on that.
Yes, ham radio operators is June the 17th, so we have that event on our Facebook page, so go ahead and like that event. Next week we have Tony Rice on with space weather, and then we're looking forward to that as well. We're going to close off. I'm going to ask Joey and Kit and Austin, real quickly, let's briefly touch on it. What are y'all's thoughts for this upcoming weekend on the tropical system that could affect some of the Carolina coastline?
I think somebody cranked up the hype train on it a little bit. It's going to rain. It's going to be breezy. Why is everybody freaking out? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there could be some pretty serious flooding issues because of how slow. John, thank you. Yeah, you don't have to hang around. We're just going to talk a little bit about our local weather.
Hey, John, I do have one quick question for you. I was going to ask you after the show, but I know you want to go. How did your company? I'm sorry, Joe. I just my ADD sometimes.
Yeah.
You were talking about your storm spotters has the wind anemometers on y'all's cars. Is that did a program donate those to you, or how did you guys acquire those?
City bought them.
City bought them. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, the city bought a few, but the rest of our storm spotters they're very successful business people, and they're very successful on their own, and that's really about all the personal information I want to give on them, and they bought a tremendous amount of them on their own. The Severe Weather Operations Department, believe it or not, has their own design group that we can design apparatuses and fixtures and attachments for these weather stations, and that was done. That was also paid for by the city of Blackwell.
That's pretty awesome. We're in the midst of getting a Burke Weather storm chaser mobile, and we definitely want one of those on there. So just trying to get all kinds of ideas of how to go about that. So I appreciate it.
You bet. Good night, guys.
Thank you. Good night. Back to you, Joey. Sorry.
That's fine. No, that's good.
If I didn't ask, I would totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. The only thing you don't forget is your hair gel.
That's
but
right.
anyway, no, I was just saying. I mean, I get that there's going to be a lot of flooding. There's going to be some serious, there could be some serious issues there. But everybody's like seriously blowing this up like it's a giant hurricane coming, and it's not. There's not going to be any wind damage unless you forgot to tie down your lawn chair or something. I think we need to watch the flooding, and I think a lot of people are focusing on. They're trying to focus on this as, is this going to be some kind of hurricane coming up the coast? And it's not going to be some kind of hurricane coming up the coast, and then therefore people are going, yeah, whatever. But you need to watch the flooding, and I've seen so many people who were, oh my God, I'm canceling my trip to the beach because of it. I'm like, it's going to rain. It's going to rain. You ever been to the beach on a rainy day? It's going to rain. The weather's going to suck. Nobody's going to blow you away. The windows aren't boarded up in Myrtle Beach. Hurricane Ashley did more damage yesterday on Cinco de Mayo. Go see that video if you haven't seen it. But anyway, I'm not sure what the big deal is. I guess maybe it'll be a fun discussion on whether it's tropical or post-tropical, and all of us weather nerds will get to discuss that and argue. But other than that, I don't really see much going on.
Also, if you're going to the beach, If you're going to be in the water, watch out for rip currents. That's a big problem. They issued some beach hazard statement a while ago, all the way up and down the southeast coast. So check in with the National Weather Service on that.
What's the water temperature down there right now?
60? Low 70s.
Oh, is it really that warm? I didn't think it was that warm yet.
72.
Off the coast, but what about on the coast?
72, I think, in Wilmington. So, Kit?
Well, funny story. I just had my weather forecasting exam today, and we had been told that whatever. Hey now. But our teacher had told us that, or professor, he said that we would be forecasting current weather, whatever it is. Well, early in the week, it was just like high pressure completely across the country, so it wasn't looking like there'd be much. But night before last, I was looking at this system blowing up, and I texted a friend and was like, this is probably going to be what we have to forecast on. He also had us forecasting for Wichita. But to me, it looks like it's going to, let's see here, where's that model? There it is. The GFS shows it turning more south than the NAM, so Wilmington might get hit or Charleston might get hit, but it looks like it approaches the North Carolina, South Carolina border.
Put get hit into a relative term, though.
Like,
we're not
it's
talking
going
about
to,
the eye of a
it's going to be
hurricane
heavy
that could
rains
come
there.
Okay, thank you. That's what I think
The center
everybody's
of low
like.
pressure.
Right, the center of the low pressure and where the heaviest rains would be. Not necessarily like you're going to have to worry about your house being in the ocean.
Actually, with the Outer Banks, because that place goes under in a drizzle.
I think the biggest concern out of all of this is a lot of people are starting to go to the beach, so it is going to be a rainy weekend down there. We are going to have to watch some flooding potential, and I think one thing that's not really been talked about a lot right now is it's going to barely be moving, so we're going to have to watch some erosion issues along the coastline as well, because I think after everything's said and done, I think that's going to be the biggest problem is just the beach erosion that's taking place down along the coastline, because it's going to set down there for a couple of days. So if you're going out that way, just watch it and just have an alternate plan to have indoor activities or something like that if you go out to the coastline. I'm watching, guys, I don't know if you've been watching it in the past couple of minutes, but looks like a tornado warning is in effect for the southern end of Oklahoma City right now. So just north of Moore. So there's been a tornado south of Moore, and now there's a Doppler radar indicated tornado north of Moore. And actually watching Damon Lane right now, and it looks like there is a lowering from the Sky 5 helicopter feed. So thoughts and prayers and well wishes with those who are in the Oklahoma City area. I know it's been a very active day out there. This has been going on for about 4 hours now. So
it'll be a very active rest of the week out there too.
Yeah, Saturday looks really interesting out there in the Midwest with the possibility of a major severe weather outbreak. I think today, when we look back at it, was maybe a little underpredicted because we wasn't seeing the big potential of tornadoes. I think it was a 5% chance, but more than what happened today. So we'll have to watch and see how Saturday pays out.
Well, I don't. From what I watched earlier, I'm not sure there was a whole lot of tornadoes that happened today. There was a whole lot of almost tornadoes.
There was. I've been watching on Twitter. There's been several pictures out of Norman, Oklahoma, of some damage that's taken place. So from the Bridge Creek, Newcastle, then into Norman, Oklahoma, there has been some tornado damage in those areas. So I don't think it's.
But I think that was the only one, right?
I don't think it was a very strong tornado, but it looked like maybe EF1, EF2 damage. But it was one supercell that kind of cut off and formed a new one over the Moore area. So we'll have to watch that as more news comes out.
I thought it was May 3rd all over again. I could have swore I heard that somewhere today. But anyway,
yes,
numerous times.
Do you have a rant tonight, Joey?
You know what? Unless you happen to be watching a certain news meteorologist's live coverage of today's tornadoes, no, I don't have a rant. But if you happen to be watching that one certain person, It is not May 3rd, 1999 all over again. It never was going to be May 3rd all over again. It was never close to May 3rd all over again. And I don't know why you had to say it 150 times in the 30 minutes I watched it. But anyway, I'm sure everybody was in their basement or cellars or storm shelters and waiting for the finger of God to blow over. But that's again, we'll get off on that. That wasn't a rant I planned or a rant that I really was planning on saying. But anyway, May 3rd, that's my rant. Whatever.
All right. Well, my best friend Zach was watching the show tonight. He wanted me to remind everyone that I actually fringed in on his photo. He had 3 girls around him, and I had to jump in. So Zach wanted me to relay the information. He is the chick magnet. I just kind of jumped in for the photo ops.
So the real story comes out.
The real story comes out, per what Zach says. Not really. They're actually coming to me. They asked for my picture, so... but I'll let Zach have his little.
Well, let him, let him think what he wants to think. He doesn't have his own webcast to be able to say his story. So
that's right.
You know how it is. Just like with wars, the winners get to tell the history. So
exactly.
I have the final say. All right, guys. Well, it's past 9:30. We've done this 2 weeks in a row. We went past 9:30. So thanks for all those who have been watching us. Remember, next week we have Tony Rice on with space weather and.
Get us some space weather questions. Anybody who's still watching?
Yeah, space weather questions.
Yeah, because I'm not really into space weather, so
I'm ready. I'm ready to learn. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. So after that, we have Joey's author. She will be coming on. I can't remember her name, but she wrote a book about the tornado outbreak in Alabama. So
no, that's not the tornado outbreak. No.
Oh no.
She wrote the book on the Long Island Express hurricane, the 1935 hurricane.
See, this is all Joey. That's Joey's show. That wasn't much.
And hurricane history. So yeah.
Make me look like a big dummy now. So
yeah.
Anyway,
we tried.
Well, my mom just texted me and she said that she and my dad are both watching, so I figured I'd give them a shout out since she's texted me 7 times during this broadcast.
Oh. Give her a shout out. Tell Cody to get to work over there.
Hey Cody, get to work. That's from Scotty.
All right.
Scotty? You know what, Scotty?
All right, we'll end the show there. Send us home, Scotty.
Thanks for watching tonight. We'll see you next Wednesday, and have a great week.